I'm Graham Coffey. I'm joined by Josh Hancher. We are today Dawgs, plural, out west. Josh is not in his usual little nook in the Hancher household. He is in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Josh, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm doing a little work out in Vegas and having some fun working. Yeah, I am on Pacific time zone. I'm further out west than you are time zone wise. So,
I
and
know.
we're
It's
testing
crazy.
our new. Yeah, we're trying some new technology. So hopefully we can get some plays for you guys previewing the Carolina game. And this is a game that the media put on the map as a possible upset game. I don't think we've heard that since the preseason. Coming, seeing how both teams came out of.
Probably not. Yeah, I don't think SEC Mike has tweeted about South Carolina beating Georgia this week like he did once every 10 days for the entire summer. So,
Right on.
yeah. All right.
Well,
Well, we know what folks are here for, right? They're here for the film preview. So, you want to jump into it?
yep. First one up is State South Carolina versus Georgia State 12, right?
Yes, sir. So yeah, Jaheim Bell is going to get the ball here. He's going to be 0 for South Carolina. He's probably their best player and athlete, and he's a do-it-all kind of guy. Plays a lot of different positions: tight end, wide receiver, wildcat quarterback, halfback, etc. They want to get him the ball. So you're gonna see that a lot on Saturday. Like, he's technically supposed to be a tight end, but I mean they don't use him like a tight end. I mean, even how Georgia uses Bowers, they use Bell more than that. I mean, they line him up at running back. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, this is going to be him right here. So they got this kind of heavy stack formation, 3rd and 1. They hand the ball off to him, first down. But you're going to see. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So like. No, you're good. He's basically their short yardage back, though, is kind of what I've noticed. And I don't know that that's wise because he's so big, but like right here, you're gonna see they're gonna use him on kind of. South Carolina uses like a lot of these, I don't know, kind of motion jet sweep handoffs and stuff. That's him right there. Like, I just don't think you can hand it off to a tight end against SEC defenses and it's going to go super well. It didn't go well against Arkansas. So I don't think he's going to scare Georgia too much, especially in like the running game. We shall see that. This is South Carolina's offense right here, like at its ideal form. It's, play action, get Spencer Rattler comfortable, get him moving around, rolling right, and hit Antoine Wells. That's Wells, number 3, the wide receiver there. He's been their best wide receiver through 2 games, has 18 targets for 15 catches, 244 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, like the tight end, Stogner, is the guy that's kind of out there blocking on the edge, and you're going to see him do some more of that. But here you see South Carolina, they do this bootleg stuff, and Arkansas keyed on it. They clearly watched the Georgia State tape and were ready for this, and Rattler's just going to get pounded into the earth. So, like, they're not very good, man. I mean, I don't know. Like, I got some other stuff to show you that's kind of like, okay, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, here, Rattler oh, wait, there you go. Rattler still has the arm talent that made him the number 1 quarterback recruit coming out of high school, but like he'll also just make weird reads like you saw there and throw it behind the wide receiver or tight end. But right here, like, again, this is going to be a bad decision type throw, an interception. Just, I don't know. It's like his arm is so good and he got away with just relying on, like, I got a big arm, I can throw it into any window for so much of his life that he's never really adjusted to playing any different way. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like
Where
the
are you?
offensive line. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're good. This is their run game, and they do some nice things here and there, but like the offensive line is just not great. Like the backs, I think, are actually pretty talented. But like right here, this is going to be a passing play. You're going to see Georgia State's just bringing 4 right here, I believe, maybe 5, but like they're not bringing a full house blitz or anything. And they just absolutely overwhelm South Carolina's offensive line at the snap. And South Carolina's got, tight ends in protecting in this scenario. Like it's just, they still got Dylan Wonham at tackle and some of these guys that you saw in Athens last year, like the personnel up front hasn't really upgraded very much. And I think that would be a big concern for me if I was a South Carolina fan. Now, he can do that, though. I mean, that play, if you don't mind replaying that, like he has this type of talent. Spencer Rattler does. And I think there's going to be a game this season where he just, gets in that zone.
Together,
yeah. And like, I mean, like that's an incredible throw right there. That's perfect spot in stride. That's that Jalen Brooks guy we were talking about earlier, number 13, the wide receiver. Like he's not technically a starter, but he's their second leading receiver. He's only been targeted 7 times, but he has 6 catches for 117 yards. He's decent, not great. They still have Josh Vann, the guy that was able to burn UGA deep a couple times last year, but he hasn't made any big plays yet this year, so I don't have any film to show you of him. And then here you're going to see Brooks again. He's the same guy we were talking about a minute ago. He's just going to run kind of like a little underneath route here. And this would be a concern, I think, for Georgia a little bit because of how Oregon was able to have success on these underneath routes. Like Georgia just wasn't great at defending them and didn't tackle them super well. They looked better against them last week against Samford, but here, 2nd and 2, gets him in space. He does have some good wiggle. It's an easy kind of 15, 20-yard pickup. So I think Georgia's got to be careful of those types of plays. If things go really, really well for South Carolina on Saturday, they'll be able to do this right here and pick up 5 yards at a time. Like, their offensive line is not going to just come out and road grade Georgia up front. But if they have a really, really good day and Georgia's defensive line has a really bad day, there is a universe where they can do just enough on the ground to make those play action fakes actually relevant to, actually kind of put the defense into run pass conflict. And that would be something to watch for. That is Marshawn Lloyd. He can do some nice things in space. You want to keep him off the edges. He'll bounce things outside. And that's an area Georgia struggled to set edges a little bit in that Oregon game. So another spot to watch is can they, can some of these young linemen, guys not named Nolan Smith, can they set edges the way that Georgia's taught to set edges and keep those types of bounce outs from happening on run plays?
Getting a note about video quality on the play, so let me just see if I can enhance it a little bit. So bear with us, guys. Anyway, so I've upgraded to 1080s. Well, hopefully that'll improve here, and maybe it'll lock in a little better. But here we are. Click 20.
That does look better so far. I think that's just, this is more of Marshawn Lloyd working in space. You got to be able to tackle him. USC ran a lot of screens against Arkansas, particularly to Lloyd. I would expect Georgia on that. Watch out for this misdirection type stuff. Like I think that they've run so many screens so far this year that you might see like a throwback type of play or something along those lines. But in the running game, they seem to have their most success running behind left guard on these types of power plays where you have an offensive line pull from right to left. And, it's not a stunning amount of success, but it's better than the right guard. As you can see there, they get stacked up a lot of the times when they kind of, they had 1.3 yards per attempt on carries behind right guard against Arkansas. Still, will do some things. Power. This is an off tackle power run, 2nd and 6 in the red zone. It's a nice pickup. That was Stogner, the tight end, pulling into the hole there. Yeah, he's pretty good. Like especially as a blocking tight end, not the type of athlete that's going to burn downfield receiving the ball, but he's a nice piece to help a struggling offensive line, which is what South Carolina has. And then you're going to see here this offensive line is just not very talented. I mean, that's Wonham again, the right tackle. He just kind of doesn't pick up the edge guy. The guard can't get there in time. It's a whole big mess. I'm not sure whose assignment is what, but I can tell you Georgia State blew up a lot of run plays like that in this game against South Carolina. And, the one thing that South Carolina can do, we were talking about them kind of rolling Rattler earlier, but like if they get him on the move, he just looks like a more comfortable quarterback. He seems to throw the ball in a better rhythm. He almost seems to see the field better, I think, because he gets to split the field in half. But Rattler has not great legs, but he can do that. He can get you, he can get you a first down on his own read keeper type of thing. He's not going to burn anybody down the field, but that is one aspect for Georgia to watch for in this game is you can't leave the backside totally unprotected. He will tuck it and run once or twice a half, a lot like Georgia does with Stetson Bennett. Moving on to South Carolina's defense here. So one thing for you to know is that Georgia State outrushed South Carolina 200 yards to 79 yards. Their quarterback was 7 of 29 passing, Georgia State's was, and they had 2 punts blocked in a 21-point defeat, but they very much outplayed South Carolina on the line of scrimmage. That was the opening drive of the game right there. Jamias Williams just guts them upfield. So keep that in mind. Huntley, 95, and Pickens, 6 are the 2 Gamecock defensive tackles. They get washed out a good bit. Number 5 is Jordan Birch. He's the edge rusher. He's at the bottom of the line right here. And, the G5 right tackle from Georgia State turns him 90 degrees. But on this next play here, like when Birch is able to key and say, this is a rundown, it's my job to go stop run, or this is a pass down, it's my job to stop pass, he's a little bit better. He was a 5-star for a reason, right? Like Georgia wanted him, everybody wanted him, but he's been a little bit of a disappointment to this point in his career. Yeah. So, yeah. That's a nice play by him on 3rd and 2. But I think it's one of those where you got to watch out for him. Like right here, he's going to look really lazy. He is the edge at the top there, the guy that bites on the fake and just doesn't really pursue outside. And I think in general, especially once you saw their defense against a school like Arkansas that has a little more speed and talent, like Arkansas made the middle of this defense look very slow. 0 there, the inside linebacker. He didn't play a ton of snaps in that game, but he played, a couple dozen. Like that's a guy that I think Todd Monken would be able to pick on pretty easily. They're just not that big up front, as you're going to see here in this clip. Like you can kind of get a push and bully them around. You look at Arkansas's offensive linemen 3 yards downfield before the running back even hits the line of scrimmage. And, they're doing a decent job of staying in their gaps. South Carolina's D-line is, but they're just getting blown off the ball. And if that happens against Georgia, it's going to be a really long day, I would think. And Arkansas had a lot of success with like misdirection kind of runs and counters like you just saw there. That's a pretty big staple of the Todd Monken playbook. I would expect to see it on Saturday. And that's not bad defense by South Carolina by any means, but they're just not making the tackles even sometimes when they're in position. And I think Georgia can have a lot of success on plays like this, where they just get the ball in Kenny McIntosh's hands and they block on the outside and just get after it. Yeah, like Arkansas was able to do this over and over. And I think Arkansas is a really good football team, but what Georgia has on a tight end and a perimeter receiver blocking standpoint is just very different from Arkansas. Here's another one of those plays where like Arkansas was always falling forward.
Hey, I can show the chat on the screen. That's kind of fun.
I know it is. Yeah. 86 is going to make these fools look silly. I saw that.
Yeah, from Curtis, and we're getting improved quality on the video plays, so we're mushing through this, dude.
We're rolling, baby. Oh, so you can have South Carolina's pass coverage. This guy right here, number 24, Marcellus Dial. You can have some success on him. He should be the number 3 defensive back for South Carolina, but he's going to be the number 2 defensive back on Saturday because their number 1 defensive back is out. So I think you're going to see him playing on the boundary a lot, much like he is here. He's been targeted 10 times so far this season for 5 catches and 90 yards. Not horrible, but he hasn't seen receivers quite like Georgia has. And then the guy that got beat there was number 28. He is Darius Rush. He's USC's highest graded corner by PFF. He's going to be their number 1 defensive back on Saturday with Cam Smith out. And so far he's only been targeted 5 times, but one of those was this catch right here for a touchdown. So something to
All right, I'm going to go crazy with this.
Oh, this is great. I love it.
We love it. I love it.
He's not very good. Here's Matt Landers, our old friend. All right, so he's going to put a move on 28 Rush right here. And, I mean, like, I love Matt Landers. Really glad that he's having success at Arkansas. But if Matt Landers is putting you on skates on, like, a 14-yard comeback route and you're, 5 yards away from him.
Open.
Yeah.
Falling down.
Like, that's not really his game even, like he's not a comeback route kind of guy. So if he's doing that, then like what's Ladd McConkey going to do to you,
Yeah.
Like Georgia's got a lot of agile wide receivers. But yeah, and then that's Cam Smith, the guy that's going to be out in coverage right there. He's number 1 cornerback on Mel Kiper's big board right now. I don't know for sure that he's going to be out. I've heard some people say he will be. They're calling him questionable. They kind of tried to downplay his absence. I mean, I think much like Kirby Smart is saying A.D. Mitchell is not out, I think Shane Beamer might be saying Cam Smith is not out. A little gamesmanship. But, like, it gets bad without him. Here, pause right here if you don't mind.
Yep.
All right, so
big screen. There you
go. Oh, gosh. I'm too big. All right. How is Georgia going to win this game is the question. Like, that's what we always try to ask ourselves on this program. Or how will they lose it? Not in this case. How will they win the game is the question. But, yeah, I think what you see there is obviously some deficiencies on the offensive line as well as the defensive line. A secondary that I think is questionable, but I mean, Arkansas didn't try to attack them that way. Arkansas was only 18 of 21 for 162 yards and a touchdown against South Carolina. And the average depth of target for KJ Jefferson was 7.7 yards. Like, that's a very efficient day at the office, 3 incompletions. But I think it's telling. I mean, we know Arkansas is more of a run-first kind of team, but, like, it is still telling to me that they only had to attempt 21 passes in a game where they scored 42 points.
Yeah, I mean, this offense is just clunky, as I guess when I was cutting up the games and looking at it, it's just that, they basically are catered it to. It feels like they're catering it to Spencer's strength, but he's not delivering.
Yeah.
And they're installing, and it's just not really working. I mean, it works sometimes, and he has the talent, which I understand. And this could be a team that you may not want to face at the end of the year. But it looks really. I mean, they're not efficient. I mean, they're 40% success rate on offense. That is sub Stetson Bennett 2020 numbers, where we had some good plays, but we had a lot of bad ones too. And that team just couldn't keep up when they needed to score points and couldn't do it efficiently. And they turned the ball over, gave too many possessions to the opposing offense, and that's how you get beat in a lot of games. And then still, as you can see, all those metrics are low for the offense. Defense is pretty good success rate wise. They're still allowing close to 5 yards per play. 29 points a game defensively. They've got to improve just about everywhere to be competitive, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And I think, the defense, like, they weren't that good anyways, and now they've got a few key guys hurt. And I think that, makes the situation even worse. But you got some good stats for us here. What are we seeing here?
Yeah, this is just broken down. This is offense for both sides. It's not offensive defense, just because I'm working and it was a little scrambling. So yeah, you can see and you kind of talked about and certainly on the forum, and we've been sort of kind of nitpicking the flaws and the shortcomings of the rush game, but I don't think it's anything that Georgia fans should be concerned about. But they're still averaging 5.3 yards a carry, which is good, not great. I mean, but you can see that South Carolina is sub 4 with a super low EPA and a very low success rate. I mean, that's a terrible success rate for rushing offense. Georgia is still not averaging a high a lot, but they're getting 60% runs that are successful. And then the passing offense, obviously, for Georgia is a lead at 12 yards every time they drop back, and a ridiculous EPA and success rate there. And you can see again, 5 yards per they're averaging on pass plays 5.5 yards per play. That's god awful. That's just not.
That's pretty bad.
You got to be close. That's gonna be pretty bad. And then I'm gonna bring up the defense here, which is a little better for South Carolina, but still not great. And yeah, so they're keeping the offenses under, but again, they face Georgia State, and that's and maybe I could do a split on the Arkansas game, because Arkansas was pretty much doing almost what they wanted to on offense. And yeah, I mean, their defense, pass defense, is pretty good, 32% success rate pass defense wise. But you talked about how bad the Georgia State quarterback was in that first game, so I'm not sure how much stock you can lay into that, because he was awful.
Yeah.
Like 9 of 20, 27 or something like that. So that number is not something I think you can lean into. So it's a matchup that I would not want to face if I were a South Carolina team trying to upset the number 1 team in the country. This could be a game where Georgia's a little dinged up, and they just want to get out of there with a win. So they may not empty the playbook. They may try to get ahead and do the Kirby death march again. So I have questions about the over and covering, but I can see this game getting out of hand pretty quickly.
Well, let's kind of how Georgia will attack what South Carolina does, and then we can give some official predictions. So, yeah, looking at some defensive clips first, and you can just play these. Georgia's pass rush on Saturday was a lot better, I thought, than against Oregon. And also, if they didn't hit the quarterback when they flushed, they weren't allowing running lanes. South Carolina, we were just talking about running a lot of screens. Tyke Smith played a lot against Samford, and he seems to have a special knack for defending those types of plays. Here's, Mondon getting in the backfield on a running play. We just talked about how they want to run the ball at left guard. This is a play designed to go behind left guard for Samford. And here's Mondon kind of getting in there and blowing it up. I think Georgia's defense, I don't think Rattler's going to run much, but they're not going to have an issue if he does, right? Like, that's something we know about Kirby Smart defenses. I mean, they didn't have an issue with KJ Jefferson, and Spencer Rattler is no KJ Jefferson in the run game. Yeah, I mean, you saw more pressure from Georgia's D-line last week against Samford, and you also saw that coming from the defensive tackle spot. And so I think that's bad news for South Carolina. And again, there's another play designed to go off left. You saw how Georgia defended it. This was week 1, but one of these situations like Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler are similar type of quarterbacks, and that if you get pressure on them, you can force them into making bad decisions, especially if you're up in the game and they start feeling like they need to do something. There's Lassiter coming up, making a play. Like, I think Georgia's going to have to be sound defending screens, but on offense, I think they can do this type of stuff all day. The stuff they did against Oregon, because I think the South Carolina inside linebackers are slow, as are their safeties. You're going to see some play action and some misdirection stuff, some bombs down the field. I think those big tight ends are going to have a lot of fun in the middle of that defense, because the middle of that defense is just, Johnson and Green are those inside linebackers. One's got a 50.3 PFF grade. The other has a 53.2. And, get McConkey on the edges. We kind of talked about their defensive backs struggling with some of these like agility routes and comeback type stuff. McConkey, McIntosh, like Roseme, even some of these guys, they're just, I think, going to be a little bit quicker in and out of their breaks than what South Carolina has seen so far this season. And I think you're going to see not just Kenny McIntosh getting involved in the running back passing game, but, I think you'll see a lot more of Daijun Edwards as well. Georgia's going to be able to block South Carolina, I think, fairly well at the point of attack, like you're seeing off the right side here. So, yeah, I think, simply put, you're going to see a lot of Georgia kind of exploring the edges, poking around. You'll see a lot of, I think, like off tackle type stuff running the football. We've gotten used to Georgia's most success running the ball so far this year has been with 1 or 2 tight ends at the end of the line of scrimmage. And I think we'll see plenty of that. We got some good questions coming in. All right. So I watched the Stanford game a few times now. Our defenders were definitely pulling up on some of those plays. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that Georgia will be fired up on Saturday. Want to go in there and make a statement. I saw a question pop up about sort of how Georgia replaces A.D. Mitchell. My opinion is you're going to see, more of the guys that you're used to seeing. I think Roseme will move over to that starting X spot. McConkey will move out to Z instead of slot and Z. And I think Kyrus Jackson is going to have a really big day in the slot. And I also think you're going to see a lot of Dylan Bell. I think this might be his kind of welcome to college football coming out party type of game.
Here's one from, do we expect the offense to look more run heavy? No, I think our offense is built differently. I don't think we are really built for man ball or have the play. So I don't know why they would change their approach. And I expect them to be doing what they've done this season, which is, throw the ball and run the ball 50-50, but I wouldn't expect them to change the offense at all. I mean, I think this is a big game, and otherwise he's not going to take it lightly. So I think we're going to see balls to Bowers and balls to Washington and McConkey if he's able to go, and when he's out there, he certainly is going to get the ball. So I think it's going to be the same offense, and I expect it to be explosive. And I expect to put a lot of points up.
Yeah, I mean, like Monken historically is pretty good about saying, "Hey, I'm gonna switch up kind of what I'm doing to attack what the defense isn't good at," and to a certain extent, like I think that involves running the ball a lot on Saturday. But I mean, against Samford, Georgia, they only ran the ball somewhere. Yeah, I mean, they only ran the ball, I think, 13 times in between tackles, and they ran it 16 times, either outside or of the left edge or the right edge. So, yeah, I think you'll see maybe a little bit more of it, but I also think like you're saying, I don't think this is a situation where Georgia – I think Georgia can run whatever they want to run and probably have a lot of offensive success in this game. I do think you're going to see a lot of running plays, but I also think you're going to see a lot of play action bombs down the field. I'm very actually kind of curious to see exactly what they do because, I don't know, we've been pretty accurate on this show, sort of predicting how Georgia will attack opponents over the last year and a half. But I think there's a lot of different ways you could go after South Carolina if you want to. And I think the reality is that Arkansas, what they do is that shotgun power run game, right? And Georgia does some of that stuff, but that, so far this year, Stetson Bennett's also a big part of the offense as well.
Yeah, I was just digging up some of the plays that have been running. Georgia's run an end around, just a few plays, and still a lot of inside power. Still the inside zone read, but the outside zone read is not doing – they're running that as much as they're running the inside zone. It seems like that, to your point, is kind of a little change, and maybe that's Cyril's bringing in some pulling linemen or something. So I do feel like they're not going to go at the front, go inside the box with those runs and expect them to go outside. And Kenny McIntosh is one of the top 20 guys in targets, so that's almost like not quite like a air raid passing offense, and you just throw the ball to it. But he certainly is a weapon to expose some of that. And I can see McIntosh having a huge game, a lot of volume there, and in Milton too. So, and just how they get the ball, but no, back to that question. Yeah, I expect to see the regular offense, and it's pretty exciting to have this kind of offense. To be honest, this is what we thought we were getting with Monk, and it took a couple years to get it in place.
Yeah, I mean, so far this season in the run game, McIntosh had 5 carries against Oregon, 7 carries against Samford, and then in the receiving game, he had 9 catches against Oregon and 5 against Samford. So he's got, I think, 13 rushing attempts and 14 receptions so far this year. So far, he's averaging 12.7 yards a touch in the passing game, and the average depth of target on those throws has been, I think, pretty minimal, right? Negative 0.9 yards. So they're throwing him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and on average, he's getting 12.7 yards out of those. So I don't know why you stop that. That seems like just shooting fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been – and that is a lot of – I mean, that's a good play, but it's only as good as your quarterback being able to deliver it in stride and on target. And so he can make those plays and not just tip off that it's going to be a screen and allow the defense to catch up, because it's all about hiding those plays, because if you don't hide them, they blow up in the backfield. But obviously those at 12 yards, over 12 yards after catch is you're doing something right there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll mention, just worth watching on Saturday, their strong safety, his last name, Nick Imanwari, number 21. I'm sorry if I said his name wrong. I think I got it right. But his coverage grade was a 46 against Arkansas. And, I think for Georgia, with what they do with the tight ends and kind of work in the middle of the field, the strong safety has to get involved in coverage. For those of you that don't know, the free safety is normally the guy that is out kind of roaming and patrolling and playing zone, and the strong safety is the guy that is having to man up on tight ends and running backs and slot receivers. knowing Todd Monken like I do, I expect him to force that guy to get into some coverage matchups. And I think, whether that's Bowers or McIntosh or McConkey or Washington or any of these guys, it's probably an advantage for UGA.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up some PFF stuff to put on the screen, but I think you've got it covered. I mean, I think I don't know how many of the folks that are watching this and tune into it. I mean, you certainly pay attention to what South Carolina's doing, but I just couldn't believe how erratic and, for every good play, it just seems like there were 3 or 4 just, not great to terrible plays that Rattler was. And I think this defense, is going to have I don't know if they're going to have a field day, but I just don't see him, unless he shows us something in week 3 he hasn't shown in week 1 or 2. I expect us to keep them again. I tweeted out since he hasn't allowed more than 20 points to this team since Kirby got here. So, and obviously that there was one loss there in the 2017 and a couple years ago, but it's hard. I don't want to be too confident. That's what I'm fighting.
Yeah,
I'm fighting.
Well, I think it's like
we got a
George. I'm sorry, good.
We got another one, Curtis. Yeah, you got another one from Curtis Maximus, 51. It's kind of fun to say that. I feel like a real talk. I feel like a real talk radio dweeb. Yeah. Do you see the D-line making a statement? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much our D-line's going to get after it. I think, some linebackers and secondary guys are going to come up and wrap up Rattler, because I think they're going to run away from that interior line. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I guess what I'd say about the defensive line is they've been very good against the run so far this year, in my opinion, at least. And they really just haven't had that many opportunities to go and play defense, to go and rush the passer. I mean, last week against Stanford, the defensive lineman who saw the most pass rush snaps against true passing sets, which is a situation where the quarterback's not rolling and, it's not a screen or a quick slant, was Mykel Williams. And that was 5 pass rush opportunities, right? So I think teams are afraid of Georgia's defensive line, but I think it's possible. My question is, does Shane Beamer actually try to win this game? Does he play this game like he's trying to win it, or does he play this game like he's trying to keep it close? If he plays this game like he's trying to win it, then I think Georgia could have 5 sacks and a couple of interceptions. If he plays this game like he's trying to keep it close and he doesn't run tempo and he gets the ball out of his quarterback's hands quickly and, just tries to kind of keep things respectable, then I don't know. You may have another week where they don't have many opportunities to actually rush the passer. Yeah. And speaking of the Kenny Mack pass rush thing, just one more little hot tip for you guys, like a stock tip. Brad Johnson, inside linebacker number 19. So far this year, he's got a coverage grade of 41.1. He's only been targeted 5 times, but he's given up 5 catches for 49 yards. And most probably concerning, if I was a South Carolina fan, is that he's given up 49 yards receiving, but he's given up 57 yards after the catch. So that means that everyone's just dunking the ball behind the scrimmage, and whoever, if they can get it to the guy that Johnson is covering, then they're able to run a long way. So I expect Kenny McIntosh to continue. How hilarious is it going to be if Kenny McIntosh is the first 1,000-yard receiver Georgia's had since 2002? I think it could happen.
Oh, man. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, I saw somebody tweeted out today, and forgive me, it was a good tweet. I should have made note of it. I was at work, but Stetson Bennett's got 25% of his yards that he got all last year in basically barely 2 games.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't fact check it. It was on Twitter, so it must be true. Because I mean, what did he have? 3,200 yards last year, and he's got what 600?
I guess that's right. No, wait, that's not 30.
Yeah.
Well, 800 yards would be 25% of 3,200.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going straight memory there.
Well, he's only played like 6 quarters as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Georgia as a team is second in the country in pass yards per game. So eat your heart out.
Yeah.
Negative recruiters. All right, Josh. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we do our score predictions?
No, I think I've limped into the finish here and ready to do this.
Oh, you look strong.
I definitely have a score.
You're running. All right, what do you think?
Disorganized.
I know.
All right, so I know. I'm not going to call it up. I'll just try to talk to you. So Georgia is. I'm going to bring up my spreadsheet here because I want to at least be able to. So Georgia is again running close to 60% offensive success rate, 7 yards of play, and they are getting 38 offensive successful plays each game. That's up from almost 8 plays a game from last year, and they're right on their average of a point per successful play. So it's easy to see if they play to their average, which that's a 41 point total. So I think if South Carolina's defense, it's hard to say that. I can't believe I'm going to say that they're better in Oregon because I don't necessarily think they are, but let's just say, noon game on the road. We're going to hold them under 38 successful plays. So I'm thinking 38 to 41. Obviously, if you do the math on the Georgia defense, it's going to be 1.5 points allowed by the defense. So I think they're gonna score at least 10 points on us. So I like a 41-10 kind of game.
That's
Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense is only allowing 8 successful plays on defense. 18. Sorry, 18. So that's
really good.
Yeah.
So I know they played Stanford. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying if they hold them to 20 successful plays on offense for South Carolina, they're not going to get a point per. So I think the ceiling for that defense, should it play close to its average, is 14 to 17 points.
Yeah, and I know they played Stanford last week, and it's easy to dismiss it, and I get all that, but I thought Alabama would have trouble against Texas because Bryce Young had to run for 100 yards against Utah State, and Utah State was able to get pressure on Alabama's quarterback consistently. So you can learn some things from these games, and I think one thing that we learned against Stanford was the outcome of the Oregon game. It was 49-3. I get it, but when we did our film review, there was a lot of things that Georgia, could clean up and do better. And when I did the film review this week, they cleaned those things up and they did them better. And that Stanford team did put up 56 points in the swamp last November. They're a pretty good offensive football team, especially from FCS standards. And Georgia shut them out and gave up 130 total yards all day. So I think Georgia's defense is going to probably play better. It's not probably. I think it is going to play better than it played against Oregon. And it gave up 3 points in its game against Oregon, despite making a lot of mental errors because the athletes are just that good. So, yeah, barring a weird turnover type of thing, I would expect for South Carolina to really struggle to score touchdowns in this game. Las Vegas has their team total at 14.5 points. I don't think they'll reach it just because I don't think they'll be able to score 2 touchdowns. I think they might be able to get down in the red zone a couple times, but they'll probably be in a situation where they have to go for it on 4th and 3 or, whatever happens. Georgia's offense is really good, and they didn't really try to do anything last week. I'm still under the theory that Kirby Smart was never going to try and blow out the guy that gave him his first coaching job. There's also not as warm and fuzzy of a history between Kirby and Shane Beamer as you might think there is. Come over to the Dog Central forum. I'll tell the Kirby Shane Beamer story tonight, but I don't want to put it on the air. But long story short, I think Georgia is going to I think Georgia can hang a 50 burger in Columbia. I'm gonna say 52-9.
3 field goals or
there you
go. 3 field goals or a touchdown and a go for 2 extra point miss kind of thing.
As soon as I said 9, I kind of regretted it. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe they'll get a touchdown. Let's say 52-10 instead. I'll copy your score total for South Carolina.
Yeah. I was trying to bring up some stats. We're going to wrap it up here, but we did get some late stats. East Atlanta was wanting us to break down some Milton stuff. We'll do that. And also, if you want some specific questions like that and we can't get to them in the show, hit us up in the forum, start a forum thread, and then not only will Graham jump in there, but certainly Jason and Dustin and John and Jim, everybody jump in there. So, because I think those guys watch a lot of tape just like Graham does and can have some feedback on you. And also, and then Curtis, over under 300 yards. Oh, no, that's not the question. 300 yards for Stetson, way over. Not way over. I think he's going to get there 300. I just think the way this offense is being run, it's just going to be it's going to be a high volume, and I can see Georgia having close to over, if not 400 yards, close to it with, a 300 to 100 kind of breakdown.
I mean, he put up 300 last week in a game where he was kind of off. I mean, he had kind of a shaky day, and he played less than 3 quarters and put up 300. So, yeah, I'm going to say I think he puts up 300. I don't think it'll be much over that, though, because I do think Georgia's going to run the ball a lot, but he'll be in that neighborhood. And then on the Milton thing, I would just say I think he's running the ball really well. Go check out the film review that I posted yesterday, looking at the Samford film, because I kind of talk about his game in there. The only thing I would say maybe he could do a little differently is when he gets to the second level, sometimes I think he has an opportunity to bounce it outside, and he sort of seeks out contact a little sooner than he should. But, I mean, he had a really, really nice day against Samford and Oregon, so I think that'll continue.
All right. Well, that's it. Tomorrow, I think you're going to be back at some point doing some picks. Maybe John's going to come in. John's playing hurt right now a little bit. But if we're going to do some picks and some other stuff before the weekend, and
Totally.
And please, like you said, yeah, we do a lot of this stuff all week long in the forum. So, and we're going to grow. And I'm figuring out now we've got a stash of plays too that we're going to be sharing and using in addition to our shows. I feel like, again, we talked about the interaction and stuff, and you can see all these plays that we're putting on the screen are numbered and stuff like that. So if you see them in the show, hey, make a note of them or whatever, and we'll figure out a way also for you guys to look at them and talk it up, because I know they're, like I said, a lot of guys, we're talking it up in the forum. So yeah, dogcentral.com, be a subscriber, jump in.
Yes,
and
sir.
we love you guys. First off, we love you letting us know that the quality was low. We fixed it. We appreciate that. And that was Jimmy. Jimmy's he's going to be Dog Stats number 2 here. He's putting out some cool numbers. So yeah. All right, man. I'm babbling at this point. Thank you, Graham.
No, you're great. Josh, thanks for getting us on air from Las Vegas. Appreciate you making this happen every week, multiple times a week. And like he said, y'all come check us out on Dog Central, especially if you haven't yet. We're up to some cool stuff. Until later.
All right.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.